Hi everybody, I'm Steve at the Carmichael Workshop, and today I'm going to show you how I make pins out of broken drumsticks. These pins are going to be for the pin turning challenge put on by James Green over at StressFreeWoodworks.com. James is gathering up letters and pins from a bunch of different woodworkers, and he's going to send them to the troops to let them know that we appreciate the hard work they're doing to protect our freedom and keep us safe at home here in the good old US of A. And also to thank the troops for their sacrifices and the sacrifices of their families. So stick around. Before I get started, I'm going to let you in on my little secret. Broken drumsticks are an awesome source of wood for a variety of projects. If you know any drummers, chances are they've got a bucket or a box full of broken sticks that you can upcycle and use for something else. A lot of times the sticks are made from good woods too, like oak, maple, and hickory. And they even tell you on the stick what they're made from. This one is sugar maple, and this one is hand-selected hickory. So when I make pins out of drumsticks, I like to try to retain the logo on the pin so that when the person gets the pin, they know that it used to be a drumstick. That's pretty cool. So let's get started. I use my bandsaw and this homemade 90-degree miter gauge to cut the drumstick into the pieces that I need to make the pins. It has a stop on it so that the pieces come out the exact length I need for the brass tubes that get glued in. Now this stick was broken at the tip, but the back end of the stick is in perfect condition with the logos and everything. So for this particular pin, I'm going to cut the stick about here, and this is going to be the back end of the pin, and then I'll cut a shorter section up here for the front end of the pin. And yeah, the pin is going to end up being about 7 or 8 inches long, but that adds to the cool factor, and you'll be able to tell it was a drumstick. Now the most difficult step in turning a drumstick into a pin is trying to drill holes straight down the centers of these round pieces of wood. I usually just eyeball it and get it pretty close about 80% of the time. Now for the smaller pieces that are on the front of the pin, it's okay if the hole's a little off because I'm going to turn that down on the lathe anyway to make it comfortable to write with. But on the back end of the pin, where it's got the logos that I want to keep, it's pretty crucial that the hole is dead center. I use this homemade vise to hold the pin blank so that I can drill the hole in it. Now with these round pieces of wood, it becomes difficult to hold it tight enough. So I use some of this non-skid shelf lining material to hold the pin blank in there and tighten it up so it doesn't spin. Now this is where it gets a little bit dicey. I've put this long section of drumstick in my vise, and I'm going to try to line it up perfectly on center with the drill bit. I've put some blue tape on the bit so I know when I've drilled deep enough for the brass tube, and I'm just going to eyeball it. And this is the part of this project where you find out if this pin is going to end up in the 80% good ones or the 20% goof ups. That's about as close to perfect as I can get it. The pin kit comes with these brass tubes that get glued into the holes. I've already scuffed them up with some sandpaper, and I'm going to glue them in with this medium CA glue. While that glue dries, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my father. In the early 1950s, during the Korean War, he joined the Marines and he did his recruit training at Parris Island. After his service was complete, he went to college and then he got a job as an engineer at Westinghouse Elevator. He got married, raised a family of 3 kids, lived a long, happy life, and one of the things I was very proud of is that he was a Marine. And that's one of the main reasons my dad is my hero. So Let's get back to using some of my dad's tools that are here in the shop and finish up these drumstick pins. I'm going to bump these ends against the belt sander to make sure the brass tubes are flush with the wood. I usually make these drumstick pins in pairs so that I can slide both front end pieces onto my pin mandrel and turn them at the same time. And one other thing I like to do is while I'm turning these, I like to actually turn what looks like a drumstick tip on the writing end of the pin. So let's turn these. For the longer section of drumstick that has the logos on it, I usually just shape this end. And the way I do that is I loosen my pin mandrel, push it in until only about 3 inches are exposed. I slide on a couple of bushings. That way I can put the drumstick on up against the bushings, pull up my tailstock, and tighten it so that the drumstick section spins on center. And then I can shape this end. Alright, well this one turned out looking pretty good. It's one of the best ones I've done. I really like how the sugar maple turns on the lathe, and I kind of got a head start because this was a pretty clean drumstick to begin with. But if you're using a grimy, dirty drumstick, you can kind of clean it up a little bit with some mineral spirits and a soft abrasive pad. Just be careful not to wipe off the logos. Now most drumsticks are covered in lacquer, so I made this little jig here with some nails so that I can put the drumstick pieces on it and it will hold it for me while I spray it down with some Def Clear Wood Finish. I use my drill press to push the pin parts together. I just chuck up a hex head bolt and put a piece of self-stick felt underneath so it doesn't scratch the pin parts. Well, I ended up with 3 really nice pins. 2 are shaped like drumsticks and 1 is traditional shaped. And they're all made from those broken drumsticks that I had. I hope whoever gets them really enjoys them and gets a kick out of them being made from drumsticks. I want to thank James Green of Stress Free Woodworks for putting on this pin turning challenge and gathering up all the letters and pins and sending them over to the troops for us. I'd like to thank all of our servicemen and women out there who are serving their country. Y'all be safe, stay strong, and come home soon. I've got some letters to write, so as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.